Vietnamese people came to this country in the 1970, and then since there we got about 50 charity all around the UK, and then in the year of 2008 we have about 34 charity work to serve around over 25,000 Vietnamese who are in the UK. Unfortunately, due to the funding cut, and then a lot of things happen around, so that those organizations have to close, which have around now about 3 or 4 of us around. So that we originally, as a Viet school, it means that the language school we serve to help people with the family with culture and language issue, so that communication become the biggest issue in the Vietnamese family. Intergeneration communication. Children cannot talk to their father, their parent, they cannot talk to the grandparent. So that's the issue with the community. That's why language classes starting from 2006 in Vietnamese community in here. So when things getting tough with the charity, we as a small little school that we think, okay, it might need to do something for the community, and apart from that, since 2003, we have a small group we call voluntary group supporting women, Vietnamese women from domestic violence and supporting in child protection and all other issues between the community. So we were very happy to be as a size small little voluntary organization. And then when things getting tough, only 3, 4 of the Vietnamese charity left in the community, and then there was a organization called For Vieux, mean Vietnamese refugee living in Lieu Sầm. So that organization closed after 23 years of operation. That's the last show that we say no, we can't leave it, and that's the reason why we have to stand up and say, and then we have to work with the council as well, because when the community or the charity close and the office needs to return to the council, and then we start think what happened to the community. The organization has been served for 23 years with advice and support, with luncheon club, supporting carer. So all of those that now, what happened to them, who can help them? And that gives us kind of thinking and working. And then again, the last show was that I was made redundant from my NHS jobs. So that's the reason why you say that, okay, I will be focused more in my own community. I've been serving other community for so many years. So now I will focus on my own community. And then I found the Vietnamese Family Partnership. The thing with the Vietnamese Family Partnership that we wanted to make it succeed was that we already engaged with the Vietnamese diaspora. It means that the second and third generation of Vietnamese in the UK as our student or as in different activity, so that we managed to involve them in our trustee board, so that they have a voice in forming the Vietnamese Family Partnership. So that would be something very different with other charities when they have only the elder looking after or the same generation. So that's why they couldn't engage with the different generation in their trustee board and in operation and strategy. So Yes, and then since then, 5 years, we was found the Vietnamese Family Partnership in 2019, and then it was in May. But it took us about 2 or 3 years to actually put all our paperwork to be able to get the registration done. So we have to say again that for the Vietnamese community itself in London or in the UK, it is not only as Vietnamese people coming from from Vietnam to the UK. We have a very diverse group of Vietnamese from everywhere in Vietnam. So from Hai Phong, from Ha Long or Mong Cai. So those that who are originally from China, they came to Vietnam and live in Vietnam for 5 to 10 generations, but they still keep their Chinese as something that they're proud of. So that when they came to this country and then they say, okay, some of them just say, I'm Chinese because Vietnam government kicked me out of the country and I'm Chinese. I don't want to say anything with Vietnamese. But they stuck with as a Chinese. They never been in China. So that they came to this country, they don't really know what and how to integrate. Chinese organization won't accept them because their Chinese is not good enough. And then their Vietnamese is not good enough either. So that we got Vietnamese Chinese or Chinese heritage and who live in Vietnam for 5 to 10 generations, so that who are not fluent in Vietnamese itself, some Chinese, some Vietnamese in the community. And then we have purely the Vietnamese, but who live in some fishing village in Ha Long, so that who have the very limited Vietnamese, even they are not really educated in the language. And we have people who live in the city and who live, so that's very diverse group of Vietnamese people. One thing was that people don't recognize that Vietnamese language is important, and that another shame because they realize it too late. Then the grandparent or the parent saw their children after the classes. They just come into the house and then shut the door and don't refuse to communicate with their own with them, and then that they realize that something wrong in here, but it might be too late. So that they talk to each other. We need to let our children to learn the language. And then we got other group that who newly came to this country who thought that my Vietnamese is perfectly fine. I rather teach my children on my own, and then they work in here how to survive, and then supporting the family in here and supporting family in Vietnam that let them no time to teach their children Vietnamese. So those type of things that really into the community itself. And then because UK is you got very good with education system, free education system, free healthcare. People come to the community with the expectation that that will be free. And then again, that for us it's a sense of we don't feel appreciated because as a Vietnamese teacher coming from Vietnam, where people need, are we being taught as you need to teach, you need to respect your teacher, and then you don't feel that in here, then we should say, okay, that you only give what your heart to the people who deserve it, who wanted to learn. So this is kind of like happened underneath in the Vietnamese community for so many years. And then for funding criteria, we have to look at supporting the young people like need not in education, not in employment. So that kind of thing that we have to look at, and we need to look at vulnerable children. So the children being looked after, the children the children of the offending people. So loads of other, and children with disability. So that in Vietnam, in the UK, if any children who come to the classes and then who got disability, who would have an assistant who support them. But as a Vietnamese children with disability, they won't have that support. The teacher, because of the so many children they need to look after, they just dismiss those our children and think that, oh, because of the language difficulty, that's why you don't need the assistant, because the assistant won't be able to help. They don't speak the language. So all of those happen, and then we as we come from the community, and then we think, okay, that's it. We have to stand, we have to help those children. It's too much for the family. The family just came in and cry, and they, yes, they've been not really treated well in the class, or have been unfairly treated. So that's when, or even children came in with depression because their parents have been offended in the prison, so nobody supporting them, come to the teacher for a kind of emotional support. So that we have to deal with so many issues in the community. And then on top of that, the classes, when we organize, it's not the same level. You have so many different levels, because the small children, they got big children, and when they start, it's a beginner, or they should be in. And then you know that when you teach the language for a 5 years old as a beginner, it will be very different with as a 13 years old as a beginner. So that's very, very different thing that we have to work with. So yeah, so that our school has been recognized by the British Academy, so for the community language school as well, so that we've been supporting and then helping our community in that way. Yes. NHS is a very political organization. Um, I was recruited at some point when it first started. It was a Vietnamese community health worker, which is supporting the Vietnamese community, as they find it. Vietnamese community is very hard to reach, so that learning from that point too. And my other duty when I was recruited is I have to follow, I have to do a training or higher education courses, and then at that time in Goldsmith they call turning point, so that actually turning my life upside down because coming from the teacher background and then do other work in Vietnam, came to this country and then learn about the community, find what community need and all other bit. So that 2 years with I have to follow as a full-time community health worker, and then as the diploma of higher education in community and youth work. So I have done 2 years of that and a graduate from those. So although like saying that it's inclusive at that point, but when you actually work with the NHS, that will be another story. It's okay when you say, okay, been there, settle down, helping your community, that's it. After 2 years, I wanted to become like more affluent, because I felt like something that I couldn't be able to do, such as report, such as a strategy. What can I do with that? Because community development worker, community health worker, you've been told what to do. But then again, that you feel like after 2 or 3 years, what my career next? And then at that time, the NHS starting to have a agenda for change. You might remember the agenda for change, when they look and they reassess all the skill and knowledge in the NHS, and then my actually, is supposed to be like band 5, and after the agenda for change, they put it down to band 2 or band 3. Because the problem with NHS would be that they don't look at the soft skill that the community or health promotion bring to the NHS. They look at the skill clinical, very clinical. And then I appeal for that, and then they said come back as a no, you can't, because your skill would be not really need in the community, or the very, very low, like personal, or the like assistant in the nurse assistant. Either we pass our degree or we have whatever we have, and then work in the community, leading the project. It had been down as a band 2 nurse assistant, which is ridiculous. And then after that we appeal and it didn't work. And then they come back again, and then I made the decision that that's it, I'm going to do further education, so which is I've been into the master course for applied anthropology for community work and community and youth work actually. And then by that I did my postgraduate degree, and then work with more NHS project, which is maybe the health trainer, so that create a workforce from the health trainers, train lay people from the community to come back and serve that community. So that the community development approach, which is later on after the course that I done for the from the postgraduate courses, and then I work as a manager for that program. When I first came to the country, even I was a qualified teacher, secondary teacher, and then I could do a couple of jobs, but again that is very difficult to get any jobs. Nobody would employ me as I was qualified as a Vietnamese and French teacher from Vietnam. And then I have a couple of degree or a couple of qualification in managing services. And then when I came to this country, it's so little opportunity. I applied for any job, it is rejected. Even when I came to the university or the college to learn Vietnamese, I was kept sitting in, I think that year 5 or something. And then because they said that your pronunciation is not good enough, and then you should keep learning, and then keep learning the language. It was until I came to like advanced classes, 3-4 years, because you got children, you can't find. You just keep yourself busy. You come to the college and you learn the language, and then that's it. Learning and learning in Vietnam English in ESOL classes. So that kept me going for a little bit, and then whatever I tried, I couldn't speak like the Queen. I couldn't. So I made the decision that no, I can't just keep doing. I saw other classmates who've been there in the ESOL class for 10 years and who couldn't speak like a Queen. So I couldn't follow the ESOL class forever. I need to find something for me to work. I need to support the family. Like I got my own children. It's just kind of like I need to do something. So I started with the job working for like temporary in the Vietnamese factory, so making clothes, and then later on working as a classroom assistant. And after and when my children were 3 And then when they was 5 and 7, then I started to think, okay, I need to find a job. And then it's very fortunate that at that time they got something for the community, that program in Sure Start, so that give the children, I think that time under labor with the Golden Brown program. So yes, so that fortunate that I was recruited as a community health worker. And then after that, 3 years of having doing the courses, and then continue, and then I was made redundant. After that, I have to pay, I have to get my own master, because the NHS refused to support me to get my master done, so that I have to do my master course. And from there I met a gentleman who worked in the NHS. We were at the time to reassess our jobs. He was in the same boat as me, because he got the community development background, and he was supported in the band 7 or band 8, and then they knocked him down for that, and then for me as well. So he supported me with the field work with the NHS, so that they call health trainer program. And then after I done the course, then I qualified, I got the job with the NHS again, but this time I was in band 6 instead of band 2, so that they got properly developed with the skill set, which is great. But further and later, more and more work have been done. I think that the Vietnamese culture of Vietnamese custom get into me, because we are the type of people who should put our head down and do the work, rather than shout, or rather than should complain or moan, so that at that point we might not fit into with the office culture. So that with the NHS or with any other, we tend to work very hard. We overwork and under-report. Whoever, as the person who come from the Vietnamese background, our dialect, as our pronunciation not very clear and not very strong, in the point that anyone, even like the person who might be lower in my band, can jump up because they speak better, they fit better, and they become my supervisor at some point. So that was what happened in the NHS. And then because we tend to be like really get into the job, which NHS might not be at that point, because the NHS like hurdle, like very, and our work is a type of change people's behavior in health. So we want to stop people coming to the hospital. We want to prevent it. We want to improve physical activity. We want to improve diet. So those kind of things, the GP not interested, or other not interested at that point. And then we work really hard to change people's perception. It's unfortunate that we have to face up so much obstacle in the community. And from personal experience with the community, I felt that our community have a really fragmented relationship within the community. We tend to be silent, we don't really shout, we should kind of like working whatever we have. So that would be really not benefit for the community. We tend to shy away from funding, we shy from everything. In terms as a community leader or as a teacher, I felt that the children for the second generation of Vietnamese, that they always think about they don't have or they don't know their identity. and then that giving them not a good platform to improve or to get to thrive in this community, to thrive in the UK. So that and then when we look at when we talk to the um, other people or local authority, I talked to the colleague in the NHS and they said, Vietnamese community, who are they? How long? I seen some of them living here for quite a while, but we don't see them. We saw them everywhere in Bedford High Streets, but we don't see them ever any space that we got Vietnamese. And that make as a visibility of the community. And then again that people tend to think Vietnamese as a bigger, like a Chinese, because people thought that or Asian, Oriental, but people don't really look at it at that point. And then from the community work that I have been organized for culture event for the last 23 years, and then very successful, even when we have over 5,000 people attending. But after event, what's next? Nothing. Where are those Vietnamese? Oh, they came here twice a year, and then that's it. They have nowhere to be seen. And that look at is that we should have a place, or should have somewhere that we be proud of. We should have a sculpture or something that people come in and say, this is Vietnam. We should have something that this generation of Vietnamese was born in here can come and then learn and can come and proud of as a Vietnamese, not as a, oh, you look like a Chinese or you look like this, but you don't really know your, and then with the language difficulties already occur in the community and in the family, this actually stamp them down opportunity. They couldn't thrive if they don't really know about their own identity. And then, yeah, that's the reason why the sculpture is not only for me, it's for our community to feel visible, to feel people more likely to say, okay, yes, I learned something about Vietnamese community, and that the sculpture would have Vietnamese language. We have a letter in Vietnamese language saying something like togetherness, and we need to have some of those histories choice in the sculpture, so people would be understand more, and then the Vietnamese community should be proud of it as well. Yeah. I would say that from the beginning, when we started, when we think about having a sculpture, that it is a big process of community involvement, because we got the competition for the design, the structure, the structure design, and then it was a kind of really difficult, and I was lucky enough to get people from the council, from the art organization, and then from the London Mayor Office to be involved, to select it. So the culture itself as a design has been selected by all of us. But the problem with that is when I bring that, and then with the we call RIPA, the Royal Architect in London, and they said that it looked like a good design, but you bring that design from Vietnam to put in Bedford, you don't have the breadth of the community. You don't have the community involvement in there. So that brings us to the square one of after 2 or 3 years working with that, and now what next? And then they say, do it one more time or do it all again. I said, no, I won't do that again. It took such a long time for us to be in this stage. We stick with the sculpture, but we're going to make some design, something different, that bring the breadth of the community into that. And so that we would make a lot of workshop, and then we make that language and culture be something that we need to include in food is something that we include in. It's about the culture, about the resistance. So all of those elements is actually from the workshop we bring in. And then that workshop comes from this first generation of Vietnamese. And then we involve the second generation of Vietnamese in, and then we say, okay, this is what the first generation think. What about you as a second generation? And then we work with them and come up to the 5 elements in there. It's actually from 3 generations of Vietnamese creating. And then we work with the graphic designer, and then lucky that his background is an architect, so that he was managed to get those done, although it still have a up and down around some issue, because it's kind of sensitive. It might not be the final design, but we hope that depending on the funder, depending on other, then we can finalize this bit. Yeah. So like I said, that Vietnamese community in the year of 1970 or 1980 is a very big population in Hackney, and now we saw more people in Lewisham. And then when we started to think about the sculpture, because it is coming from London Mayor Office, so that's a small little grant from the London Mayor Office. So we have a more flexibility to choose in the different area in London. And then we nail down Hackney now no longer be an area that we can do, because we don't, the sculpture won't survive without its people. So basically we see the Lewisham would be a bigger part of Vietnamese. And then in Lewisham, the main area would be Bedford, and Bedford High Street as a hub for the community. And then we walk around Bedford High Street so many times to look at each area and see where would our sculpture, at that time we didn't even have the idea of the sculpture. We thought about it might be a gate, because think that, oh, Chinese community, they have the gate, so that do something like that. but no, we come up with something else, so that we just working whatever we have. And then community decide that, after consultation, we decide that the Bedford Lounge is where we organize our culture event, so that the sculpture need to be near there, so that people, when they do the event and then they do all kind, they can take photo. And then we involve so many different organizations to that. And then the Vietnamese embassy, and then some Vietnamese company, they thought that that would be a good point for the tourists coming from Vietnam to this, and they learn about, or they've been a kind of like, okay, the Vietnamese community here, you got somewhere visible. Yeah. I think when I started as a person who came from Vietnam, where French have a more influence, I learned English with the American dialect. Came to this country, I wasn't came as other who are refugee and asylum seeker. I came here as to do some little research, and then later on I got married. But I live with my husband is a refugee, and then live with his family from refugee background, half Chinese, Vietnamese. So for me, it's something like really open. I see my life through the different angle as well. London and UK bring a lot of opportunity. I have to say that a person like myself, I see that's quite a lot of opportunity, and I can see that when I left Vietnam, it was mainly if you get the job, you need to have the relationship. You need to get the good network. At that point, you go like, you need to have a big umbrella. If you don't have an umbrella, you can't get a job. So that when I came to this country, I thought that, yes, as long as I put my heart this work, as long as I try my heart, then I would be okay. I would be able to learn. I would be able to work. So yeah, and then getting the NHS, working in the NHS, my children get education in here, so that I think our life is quite stable. It might not be the best like I wish if I'm too ambitious, but it's okay. My life is good, everything is good. I can focus on community and I can focus on my family. And I think that I can't ask for more because, it's a lot that, you want to. But again, that good relation, and then with the community as well, I think that although that I'm not, in the privilege, but I am in the privileged position that I can help others who are in the difficult position. It's a lot of political around when you work for NHS, but again that you can say, okay, you might not be able to fit in well, and that bring in, for me, another thought around Vietnamese people are not good at politics. And that would be something when I was in my course with the master course, and then my teacher actually says, try to be try to be a counselor or work in the MP and all kinds, and says that no, it's too hard for us. And then I would dream of the second generation of Vietnamese that would be able to do that. But the first, we would be the stepping stone for them, just to make sure that whoever wanting to be in that position, we nourish and we work with them. But the first generation, too much huddle, and then we got too much of Vietnamese in our mind. I think that quite a lot of Vietnamese thinking, why involved in the politics? When you have a community or a communist party who decide what you can do, and then and a little bit of my background as well. My grandparent or great grandparent came from the rich family in Vietnam, and then when they got revolution, all of them been taken away. And then even my dad or my auntie, my uncle, we wouldn't be able to do what we wanted to do. I remember that because of that background, I wouldn't be able to work or wouldn't be able to get into the university or any college for other than teacher. So my auntie, both of my auntie have to take that job as a teacher, and myself as well, no other opportunity than to be a teacher. I used to hate it. I used to hate it. And then my thought was that when I came to this country is that's it, no more teaching. No, and later on when I get to the different type of job, and I just think getting or having the teaching skill is not bad at all, as long as I don't have to do full-time teachers. I'm okay. And then that become my hobby, which is funny enough that now I can, sometimes I can earn money, I can work with the teaching job, but again that, I wouldn't enjoy that if I was in Vietnam. Yeah. So as a Vietnamese teacher is quite fascinating for me about its language. And then the struggle that the history of struggling and building the country from Vietnam. So if I look at the language from all around Vietnam, that would be as a Arabic kind of letter like Laos, Cambodia, and then you got to Chinese next to it, and then so Vietnam letter like Latin, and with different dialect, different tone, so that the reach of the language, and then that reflect the people culture. So I love the Vietnamese culture in the point that been resistant to uh, to all kind of power taking over. For example, resistance with the Chinese for 1,000 years, the resistance with that went the war with the French or America, and with Chinese again. So all of those that this is the good point from the point as a Vietnamese, but again that deep down I love peace. We love peace. We love something about peace, and we love all of those that the price that we have to pay. People underestimate the war, and people underestimate that's how it affects, it impact on peoples. And then Vietnamese people love peace. And then come to this country is another around, we got peace in mind. We can speak what we want. We can do what we feel like that is good, rather than we've been told to do this, we've been told to do that. Yeah. So having a culture event is a way that we try to tell, or we try to tell our story to the English people of how we respect, we bring the culture to this country, and then that bring the divert to the people understand that the difference of from each culture. So yes, culture is a big part that I love about Vietnam. The children from the Vietnamese diaspora, I see that I see quite a lot of them suffer from the not understand self. The Vietnamese first generation have their own difficulty, struggling, came to this country too late, lack of education, struggling to fit in and respond to expectation from the countries, and then written as a culture where we have children, those things that the children can grow as long as they've been fed, and that's it. So that lack of time that invest for their own children, and then the children, the generation of children, the second generation of Vietnamese children in here feel that they don't get enough experience and understand about its own culture, because of the lack of community events, lack of time spent with their parents, and then the parent. So communication is a big issue around, and then they call. Sometimes I can feel that the disagreement as well. So maybe coming from racism. Racism is about when you look at your own people and you think that they are so, not worthy. You don't proud of your own root. So if you look at that point, that would be like, okay, my parents, how many years that they've been here and they don't speak English. they don't do that, they don't. And then it is like, it's quite a hurt, isn't it? It's really hurt because before doing anything, they create you and they make you who you are. And no matter how successful you are, that's some contribution coming from your parents. And then again, that they don't realize that the burden that the parent have to bring into this country, to, you know, that they have to carry around to be able to meet all the expectation. And then again, that with the generation of Vietnamese who born in here, I can see they didn't have their parent knowing the system. They didn't have the parent supporting that in their homework, which is a big loss for them, because I understand from their point of view, but you know, again, that they struggle. They don't have any auntie, uncle giving them the job. And they even give them the job. The Vietnamese people have like a nail bar or have a restaurant. They might not like it. So yes, so that it's really a lot of things around underneath in each family, the issue, the conflict, the internal conflict, and then again that we have a Vietnamese from the north, Vietnamese people from the south, Vietnamese people from, you know, the Chinese background. So all of those together, yes, that bring in when you got any community that advice and support that we're giving, we have to deal with all of them. But again, that community event, that's when we think all of those, it doesn't matter, come in and celebrate together. So that type of thing that as a community leader or as a charity, that's what we want. Here, you got your problem, we help you to sort out your differences. But here is a forum, is something that you bring in your differences and celebrate together. Yeah, so that's what I think. I wish I have somebody mentor me since when I first came. I wish that I would have yeah, somebody mentoring me and then give me, and then I can reflect on what skill and knowledge that I have and bring in a more sturdy career. So that I didn't have to go through 15 years with NHS, a lot of agony, a kind of like, okay, fighting and then and then fighting to be able to prove that I got the skill to do my work. I wish that I got more acknowledged, a more recognized career. By that way, then I would be able to support whoever I want to support in the better way. And better, when you are in better position, you're better financial, you can help more effectively. But I think that by that time, I did the best I can. For me, that the reason why we put in for the sculpture is a togetherness, because Vietnamese, like I explained previously, that Vietnamese come from all sorts of, that would be from different places, different background, from the north, from the south. The war between the war, American war, French war, that make the Vietnamese in the south and in the north to be very totally different perspective. And then the war with the Chinese make people really different perspective as well. So that, yes, Vietnamese community in here, the first thing is that we are very humble as a character of the, you know, the confusion. humble, and then to be able to survive, be humble. Then the second point is that we don't really look at the people in our community as we work as a teamwork. We don't have our togetherness kind of sense. And then I hope that the sculpture would give that kind of like, we need one tree, you can't do anything, but 2, 3 trees together, then you bring out a mountain. So that would be for the community. Yes, so that the community, I think that we hope that from the second generation, they would have they feel one part of me as a Vietnamese, and then that could connect them together to build in the community in a different way, rather than the first to come here, oh, they are from Hanoi, they are from Hai Phong, they are from Saigon, so that, oh, we don't trust them. So that kind of internal conflict, hopefully that would be finished. Now 25,000, or when they first started, 5,000, 10,000, 25,000, 15 years ago, and now over 100,000 or 120,000 Vietnamese in here. So that hopefully that we would develop in the better way. But if we look at Vietnamese in Australia, Vietnamese in America, so that's when we think that how the sculpture as something that I feel proud of as a community leader or charity led to make the first ever stamp for the Vietnamese community, because the other, like the Chinese community, they got the bank behind them. They got the big company behind them. They got everywhere. But Vietnamese community is so small, and then we're struggling, and we have to do it ourselves. So that by having a sculpture led by the charity, it means that the community will reflect better in the way of, that education and think about other people would be the point, rather than this is a business. This is something that we kind of get told. And I hope that in inspiring, as a teacher, you always think about inspiring other people to do good things. And that might come from myself, but others, they look at it as here is the voice, here is the visible side of Vietnamese community.